recording.
Okay.
Buttons to worry about it. So.
Well, that's not
You got
good.
water? Do you need another water? Good?
I don't think so. No, I think I'll be good.
All right, if you do, just give us a yell.
Yeah.
We'll yell.
Hey, hey.
How are you?
Good to see you. I'm good.
Good.
Is Duncan going to be around?
Duncan's just on another case right now, so
Oh.
if he finishes up, I will let
tell
him know
him
that
come
you
in.
asked.
Yeah,
So-
no, I like him. He's fun. He's
Okay.
fun. He's a
He's a
jokester.
good guy.
Yes, he was. I get to work with him every day.
Oh, good for you.
Except we never wear socks.
Odd.
So
Does he
we-
not have sweaty feet?
No. He wears those little tiny, what are they
Well,
called?
booty looking
They're not anklets.
Like this?
Like the no-shows.
Oh, the no-shows.
Yeah.
Now, see, those creep down to me.
Yeah.
And then they go
Well-
under and they make your feet uncomfortable.
What's weird about it is when he sits down, Bob's pants go up, you see his shoes and there's like that much, because he's so tall, long-legged, nothing, no socks.
So we always tease him about, man, are you wearing socks today?
It's almost girly-like, because girls
Yeah.
have more ankle shoes.
Or did you cut the little ball off the back of your socks?
I bet you guys are fun. Oh,
How are you?
I'm
Been
good.
a long time.
No, I'm good. I'm married now.
That's what I understand, good.
Awesome, congrats.
And we still are married, according to a gossip that's out there that we're separated. That's the gossip.
You know, I may have saw that somewhere.
And I'm like, who comes up with this stuff?
Caught me by surprise a little bit.
And I was like, they got the gossip. You know what I heard? I don't follow me. I don't look up any information about what people say about me. Don't want to know. Don't care. Anyway, but somebody told me, did you know that you and David were married on 12/12? That's 12 times 12 is 144. Like the 144,000. I went.
Oh my God.
I was like, I never ever put that together. And then it was Alex's death. Didn't even know it was his death. Didn't even know. Because I didn't
On
memorize
the 12th of
day.
December?
That's what they said. And I was like,
Yeah, he did that.
I'm glad that they know more than I know about myself. And I was
It's
like,
crazy. It's crazy.
people, you
how-
guys are like,
Melanie, there's
why
not-
do you spend your life looking at another person and gossiping about them? That is so bad.
Some people, and really with this case, that are so involved with it, is like, it seems like it's just consumed their lives.
It's consuming. It's
And
addiction.
they're always posting, they're always looking, always coming with these little things.
Oh, it's so gross. I don't know what else they're saying, and I don't want to know. So I always tell people, don't tell me. Don't want to know what they're saying. Just leave me alone. So I don't know too much more. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So David's still up there in Utah?
Yeah, and he said that if you wanted to, he was going to come down and help me with some moving. I decided, no, I'm keeping my stuff in storage for another month.
Okay.
So he says if you need him, I could call him. He's standing by.
I don't think we need to talk to him.
Yeah, he said, I'll do what I can, but I don't really think I'm that useful. But he is a little bit.
He's useful.
He is useful because he's another witness.
Yeah, he's useful.
He's useful.
And a pretty good guy, I think.
Yeah,
But there may be an opportunity we may have to sit down and have a chat with him, kind of like we're just trying to button things up a little bit.
Good.
Cross T's, dot I's, and then prepare for what's possibly coming here in the near future.
The trials. The trials.
Anyway, so it's been a long time since we've chat, and so in that period of time, Ray, myself, Benny, other detectives gone over quite a bit of stuff.
Okay.
And also quite a bit of stuff with you.
Yeah.
So in going over that stuff and talking to other people, more questions come to mind that we may have not known back then.
Okay.
And so this is where it's important that we sit down and talk with you again and kind of get that all out in the open and try to figure out exactly what has happened here and what it was going on.
Okay.
Even, when they moved to Idaho, but maybe even prior to moving to Idaho.
Okay.
So that's what we'll talk about a little bit. Melanie, one of our main objectives here is we are trying to block off any type of avenues here that somebody's saying we may not have checked out.
Okay.
Okay. So in doing that, some of these questions popped up, and I want you to be honest with me. And I don't have any reason.
I'm always going to be
I don't have any
100%
reason
honest with you.
to believe that you haven't.
Okay.
But what I do want you, anything that we talk about that you don't think is important, ask us. What I don't want to happen here is Melanie to think, well, you know what? And I don't know if that's happening. I hope not, but something you might be holding back on us thinking, well, I'm not sure if I really want them to know that.
Okay.
Unless they ask me a direct question about it.
Okay.
We don't want to have to be pulling
Yeah.
information out of you.
Okay.
Just be an open book and tell us.
Absolutely.
And it'll make this a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
So, last time we talked to you, we didn't really hit this portion up very hard, but I want to talk to you a little bit about these castings.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you referred to them as, or are you new to them?
Yeah, I think so.
What else were they referred to as?
It's been a while since I thought about it, so I can describe how it came about and what it sounded like, if that helps, because I don't really know what else to call it than that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you know the idea of casting out is to help evil spirits leave the body, right? That's the whole premise from Christ.
Well, I've never heard of it being, well, okay, so I know that
let's go back
Christ
to
is
Christ.
casting out demons, and
Yeah.
I understand that.
That's the premise, that's all. That's all it is. I mean, that's what the idea is to get, if there is an evil spirit in you, then you ask in the name of Christ that evil spirit leave. That's what it's about. Okay.
So sometimes in my mind, I'm having a little trouble trying to picture this.
Okay.
But like, if I look at this, I'm like, such and such has a evil spirit in them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would call a group together to have a prayer and a casting.
Yeah.
Or if I would just, in my own personal prayer, say, Lord, will you help this person out?
Right. I don't agree with it. But I want you to know that's what the idea. Anything I tell you, I don't agree with. But that's how it came about in the time. So how it started was this. We were in Sulima's house. Probably in January. I don't know how to remember the date other than I was trying to think of sequences,
Okay.
So there was Christina and Nicole. Remember them?
Mm-hmm.
And Serena was there. I was there, Sulima was there, and Laurie was there. And maybe Sulima's daughter might have been in the house, but I don't remember. And so she was talking to everybody about that Charles was now had this evil spirit in him, okay? So that was kind of what they were talking about.
Okay, tell me about that evil spirit. Did the evil spirit have a name?
Yeah, remember we talked about it. It's the Ned guy.
Right.
That's what they
Okay.
said he was.
All
He was
right.
this Ned person, okay? All right. So she's kind of talking to the girls, and they're all kind of talking about what's going on. And she's like, I don't know what we're supposed to do about this. How do we get, how do I do this? I don't understand what this. So nobody has any information about casting out at this point. And then Christina, she starts talking about something. This was all beyond me because I didn't do the energy work. I mean, I had energy work done to me before, but I don't know how to do it. And I don't know if Christina knew about it or not. I'm not sure. But Christina started talking about, man, I don't know how she brought it up now. It's been a long time for me to remember. I don't know how they start talking about it, but somehow they start talking about casting out somehow. And then they all start joining in. I was listening because I didn't have any comment to make to it. I was like, I don't know. And then they were trying to figure out, she was trying to help solve the problem, like if this Ned is in him, how do we get him out? Or I don't even know if that was the right word at the time, get him out. But
Can I stop real quick?
yeah.
Remind me how she knew that was Ned.
Okay, that was, remember when Chad made the phone call? Lori and I were in her house, one of her houses she lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Not the last house, but the one prior to the last one. Because I remember where I was at certain times, so I remember the house. Anyway, so I remember she was coming in the door. It seemed like we just did a podcast with a couple of men. So we just did that podcast. They left. And Chad calls and says, hey, I want to let you know that I did some research and figured out that this Ned. Oh, it's been a while since I thought about this.
Yeah, that's right. I know
Ned,
what you're talking about.
yeah, you even forgetting details. It's been 2 years, right, or something like that.
What if he
So
did
Ned,
Schneider?
Schneider, thank you. And Ned Schneider is in him, and she was taken back a little bit because it was a new concept for her. She didn't know about that this could happen. So this was introduced from Chad. Absolutely 100% sure of that. Okay, so then she was ruminating over that idea for a while. They were
Let me ask you,
talking.
how are you 100% sure of that? That was introduced by Chad to her.
Because I'm watching them talk on the phone, and after that conversation, she shares with me, this is what Chad just shared with me.
All right.
And so she didn't look like she made it up because she had never talked that way before. She never said anything like, hey, there's an evil spirit, and that never occurred to her. So when she first told me, I could tell she was like trying to absorb it. It looked like it was new for her. And so so that's where it came from. And so I'm sure they had a lot of conversations, which I wasn't privy to. So then when she came together in January with all these girls, she was talking about this problem she had about this Ned person now coming in. And she said that her reasoning for that was that Satan was breaking eternal law, and that he could now do this, like he had some kind of power to do this. And so now these evil spirits were able to get into these bodies. So if we use you as an example, Ron is no longer Ron, he's, Phil. And Phil comes in and he is
Right.
now, I'm really dealing with Phil. I'm not really dealing with Ron anymore.
Because Ron's gone.
Ron's gone. He went to the spirit world or whatever, someplace, right? And so, anyway, as we talked around the girl, they were trying to figure out, well, how do we do this? How do we get this spirit out? So they sat there and talked about it. And a lot of the wording that they used, which I can't recall all of it, but it had to do with features that they learned from energy work. Different weapons and different
Well, so like
stones or different things that they had learned through a spiritual means, talking about, hey, and they came up with this stuff. I did not come up with it because I didn't even know what to say about any of
did
it.
they come up with it, or did Lori assign them something?
No, at first they talked about it as a group. They were like, well, what can we do? And it seemed like Christina started bringing it out first, actually. She's the one that, and I'm trying to remember the words, but I can't really remember what she said. I just remember, I remember her sitting down with her one day and go, what can we do to help you, Lori? She was sincere, and I was thinking, I have no idea. Like, I don't know what that looks like. And so anyway, they started talking and getting different ideas, and And so she was told she was told that she had this priesthood power. Now that Moroni gave it to her in the temple, she suddenly had this priesthood power.
Right.
That women were now getting it, because you know that they don't have it in church, right?
Did you find that odd?
Yeah, everything's odd. But at the same time, because I was on this, so I had listened to some podcasts she had learned. So it wasn't super odd for a person that had listened to Julie Rowe or Mike Stroud, because they were talking about how to, now if you go back and listen to those two, she doesn't come up with this stuff herself. This has been coming up by other people, okay?
Well, right, and I know that the big picture, it's all a little weird, but when you hear, because, you know, you're LDS,
yeah.
When you hear something as in Moroni appeared to her in the temple and gave her priesthood powers, what did you think about that?
Well, let me back up to when I first met her to help you understand how I got involved with her. You know, Jason Mouw's the one that introduced me to her. He met her in the temple and said, hey, there's like-minded people that are spiritual, da-da-da. Here's Melly's information. So she meets me and she hears me talking a little bit because I'm doing something for a stake event. It was really normal and good, and, you know, it had to do with, you know, like natural preparedness kind of things. You know, something that we all can learn and enjoy. Anyway, afterwards, she's in the back with Melanie. And then I came out, and then she came out, and Melanie was still in there because there was other classes going on. And she was just so excited to meet me. And she was like, you know, she's talking about people she knew, like Mike Stroud, or not knew, but knew of from podcasts, and Julie Rowe, and her change of heart. And I said, well, I've been changed to Christ, and my experience is a normal experience that somebody would have, but she was like mirroring me. And I think she's mirroring me, because I didn't know that then. I didn't know her, so I would have no way of knowing. But anyway, she was like, oh, I've been changed by Christ. And I said, well, I have too. And it was in a more significant way than maybe what I experienced at church. It was a beautiful experience that I had. And so, but there was nothing odd about it. It was just beautiful, you know? And so she said that she had the same, and she was super excited. And then she said, well, I said, you must have been through a really, you know, a lot of challenges in your life to be able to have these experiences. She goes, well, she says, I've had some special experiences with the Lord in the temple. And she might have said Moroni at the time, too. She might have. I can't remember if that was the next time I saw her or not. And I was like, wow, what have you been through? And she's like, well, you know, my kid was raped by her father, and who would have known that probably is a lie. But anyway, she was bringing this story about all her trials, and they sounded genuine to me. I did not think she would. I don't think people are manipulating. That's one of my weaknesses. I don't manipulate. I don't know how to. So I was so foreign to it that I was like, oh, she can't be lying to me. She sounds just like me, as far as my testimony of Christ. Now, not all the crazy stuff, but just that normal kind of sisterly bond that you would have with somebody in church. So then she tells me, well, because we had listened to Mike Stroud, he talked about 144,000 and about how people are going to be called to help be instruments in God's hands of bringing people together, like the lost tribes and different things in the last days. And so she says, well, I've had these experiences, and I know that I'm part of the 144,000. The Lord sealed me his in the temple kind of thing. And I didn't necessarily disbelieve it. It wasn't a new thought for me, because I had listened to different podcasters talk about some of their experiences, and I didn't think that they were lying either, because they sounded like it matched Mormon doctrine. All of it did. Because I'd read the scriptures a lot, and I thought, well, you know, I know about these things, but somebody's actually having them. And so, but, you know, people can have real experiences, but somebody can take that and act like that as their own.
Sure.
And I think that's what she did, is she took some information that could or couldn't have been true. I don't know if the guy had it or if he was deceived. I don't know that personally. But anyway, she learned a lot about, and Julie Rowe, they talked about casting out. They talked about when evil spirits, you put your arm to the square, you cast out, you use, and then talked about love is your most powerful weapon, and different weapons. He would say different weapons. I don't know if he described them, but he just talked about love as the most powerful weapon we can use against the adversary. So I don't know, maybe she took that, and then she took Julie Rowe's freaked out stuff, but she's whacked. But she was heavily into the energy work, and a lot of these things were like coming through, all these weapons and different things and evil spirits around you. So I remember one time she told me when she was in Hawaii, before I ever met her, so this was when she was living there, she recalled a moment. She goes, I remember, Melanie, I woke up, an angel woke me up, and said, you need to email Julie Rowe and tell her that she's a true servant. And I was thinking, wow, well, maybe Julie, because I didn't think Lori was lying to me. I thought she was really enlightened. And anyway, she believed in this. And anyway, she said she finally figured, she said, I can't even email, or I don't do Facebook. She's like, I just finally read the back of the book, had the email on it, and just said, you are a servant, and that's it. And she just said, Lori. And that's all she said. She sent off and went back to bed. So I was thinking, wow. Okay. And so... So when her and I met that day, she's like, I know that Moroni, she must have told me about Moroni, or he was the Savior. I know that he's called me to be part of that 144,000 to help other women. I'm to gather other women, something like that, and help them be part of the gathering kind of thing. Okay? So her and I go to the temple. We go to the Phoenix temple because I remember the Gilbert temple was closed. So we're going in there. This is, if you're LDS, you're going to be surprised by this. This is where the deception really began. I go into the temple, and I'm going in the dressing room. We're getting our white clothes on, and she is in the dressing stall. I come out and I stand behind. They have an arch window in the Phoenix temple, right in the women's room. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I get this like heat all over my head, and I'm like, "What's that?" So I said, "Lori," and she comes out. I said, "Feel my head," and she goes, "Oh, it's happening." And I was like, yeah, it's really hot on top of it. I didn't have a fever. Nowhere else on my body was hot. And it wasn't because the sun was coming through. It was really like this heat. And it lasted for, I don't know, like a minute or two. Mm. And she's like, wow, it's happening. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty awesome. You know, I'm thinking that's good. And so anyway, we go into a couple of different rooms. I don't want to share too much because it's the temple. Right. But anyway, she thinks that she has the power to ordain me at that point. To be part of this 144,000. And so she says a little prayer. That's her thing, her little prayers. And
did she say when she got the keys to ordain you?
Yeah, from the Lord himself and from Moroni herself in the temple, in the initiatories, in a certain location in the initiatories. And the interesting thing, I told this to Rob, the same place that Suleiman said she saw the Lord was the same place he said. And I was like, how did that happen where she said the same place? And he goes, well, Melanie, people can have some psychological word. I don't remember what he called it. So the psychological word that she had this experience. And I was like, well, I never had anything like that. So I don't have the experience they do because I don't have visionary experiences. That's not me. That's not my gift. So I just assumed that because they had them, they knew more than me. Well, if they can see that, I can't see it. Maybe I don't doubt that people can have gifts like that. I'm very much a believer in that. Yeah. So that was a bit on the odd side that happened to me in the temple. And I've asked other people that work in the temple and different things. They said, well, they can bring Satan in with them. I'm like, oh, yeah, they can. Mm-hmm. So that was sad. So that's where my confidence came from with her because I'm in the temple of my God. That happens to me.
Sure.
So I had to, you can imagine after all this happened, I had to read back and go think, and it's like, all those things you thought were revelation, get rid of them. Don't even remember, don't go back to try to figure out, Heavenly Father, what happened here? I thought I was on your team. Sure. And I cried to the Lord. I said, I cheated on you. I broke my heart because I was that absolutely gobsmacked by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with these castings, and the first one you're involved in was at Zelina's house, and
I can't remember if they did it that night or the next day, or I don't remember, but it was...
Was it still at Zelina's house, do you remember?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Okay. Pretty sure.
And was that just for Charles?
Oh, absolutely, because that's the only person they knew had that issue at the time, according to their pretend revelation. I call it pretend because who knows what they're listening to.
Describe to me how
they did it?
How they did it.
Okay, so they were trying to figure out first how to do it, and so they were all coming up with different ideas, and I wasn't familiar with their vernacular. They would say things like, like Melanie would coin the phrase probably like some kind of malachite or something after a while. Like malachite's a gem. Mm-hmm. So they thought that gem had powers. You know how like in the chakra world people get into stones and stuff like that? They kind of brought that into that. So they thought that had the power, and then...
Those malachite rings, or the malachite stone?
Well, she eventually got that, yeah, but that was... Yeah, okay. Right. Like the malachite stone. And then I remember Serena having a moment where she was like, we just need to ask, I don't know, it's a question. I remember it triggered something like, we need to ask permission for something. Anyway, sorry, it's been too long. And it was weird that something happened that night that was strange. Sulema and was it Serena? It's almost like they got attacked by an evil spirit. Like all of a sudden, Sulema's sitting there talking, and all of a sudden she can't breathe. Like she's like, I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm like, what is that about? You know, and then Serena, it seemed like something happened to her where something happened to her. And Nicole, or maybe it was Nicole. I know Nicole had something with, Nicole's a sweet, gentle soul, if you ever met her. And she just all of a sudden got really depressed and really heavy and quiet. And so anyway, they were obviously opening darkness because anyway. So they would say, well, anytime darkness comes after you, it's because you're doing the right thing. So it's an oppositional idea,
Sure.
right? And so anyway, they would just basically, she would raise her arm to the square, Lori would, and then she would say through her priesthood power, which she believed she had the patriarchal power, which was higher than the Melchizedek power, okay? Sorry if this is confusing. I don't know if you're thinking.
I'm following you.
He's following you.
So, and be patient. and Chad would help groom her into these beliefs and ideas. He would help her believe more and more, like, you're the most powerful woman in the world, whatever. And so anyway, they would just, each one of them had like a little something to say, like how they could help in a loving manner. It wasn't like an evil or a dark, like a yucky kind of a voice. It was, or I'm mad at you kind of a voice. It was like, come to the light, or, you know, something like that. And so the only part I pitched in was my testimony of Jesus Christ. I didn't have anything else to offer than that, because I was like, well, Jesus did this, and look at what's his name, and look at Paul the apostle, and you know, and I was just trying to share my little part, because I was like, all these people, I don't know. And so anyway, that's just how she did it. And so she would, and I think she kind of did it more on her own as she got more closer to Chad, and everybody's kind of started leaving the group, you know, like Nicole and what's her name, Christina were out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Serena was out early. Thank goodness on their part they were out early. And it's only because Lori was getting jealous, or you know how the jealousy can get in, and she was worried because Serena called Chad too much, and then she was like, Chad was like, well, she has more intentions than this, and then they cut her out of the group. Just stupid stuff like that.
So you think that they cut Serena out of the group because Lori was jealous?
Well, I think, so he would say, this is how it started. He'd say, you know, she keeps calling me. Serena keeps calling me, asking more and more questions. And then he would tell that to Lori, and Lori would talk to him about that and say, oh, she wants to learn more power, and she's actually now getting darker because she's getting like Julie Rowe or something something stupid like that. And then so pretty soon they had deemed her more dark, and she just needed to, they just cut her off. Basically means, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. So she went out of the country and came back. She got sick, and she was asking, like, what happened? Was some evil spirit touch me when I was there? And Serena had a hard time swallowing all this. After I came to her and said, these people are bad, she was like, you mean they lied about that and that? I'm like, Serena. And I had told her the whole story, everything that they killed the kids, and I really felt they did. And she was like, and we went to the temple, and she's like, Melanie, did they lie about this? I'm like, Serena, the whole thing is a lie. And she was so convinced. She was so convinced. And she's a very intelligent woman. She's a very beautiful and amazing woman. But she was just sucked into it. And so, and it had a lot to do with the preparation work, had a lot to do with learning things outside of Chad and Lori before we even got together, like, you know, the podcast people. And that prepared Lori to meet Chad. I remember hearing that recording about her sister saying something like to Rob in that little room that they got in trouble, you know, obviously didn't get in trouble, but, you know, tried to get in trouble with the defendants. And she was saying, I think that her podcast, she named who the podcast people were, but I choose not to use the names of people on the internet openly. Right. But she said, I believe she learned those teachings from this podcaster, and then when she met Chad, and it was an easy, oh yeah, I'm already prepared kind of thing. So that first day that they met, she was already prepared for Chad because of these podcasts that she'd been listening, which actually kind of got, you know, went from Chad to this, you know, Julie. So they kind of were connected a lot more ahead. They worked together quite a bit, and that's where he learned a lot of his energy work from, I believe. That's because I don't know that he knew about it until Julie Rowe, because Julie Rowe's the one that brought this whole emotion code and energy work and all that. She's the one that really opened that up. And then he switched from being with that one lady, Suzanne Freeman, and then he dumped her. I call it dump because he just kind of moved from one person to the other. And then he went to Julie Rowe, and then he dumped Julie Rowe, and then he went to Laurie. So he kind of kept doing this. Probably for money, you know, he's really into his books, so he wanted to make money, and I've learned that he made a lot of money off Julie books. I recently learned that, but from a good source. But so this is what the castings really were about, is to invite the spirits to leave, or with their so-called power or their, you know, things that they would bring. I never thought this was like a huge deal. I mean, I talked a little bit about it before. All I said too is like we did prayer, you know, she did prayers to help cast or something. I don't know how I said it, but to me, it has no effect. It didn't do. There was no power in what she did, so it had nothing to do with anything because it was all by Satan. Or if it, now, when Julie Clement got involved, I remember one night we were at Lori's, the last house she was in before Charles died. I think he was still alive. And I remember they were doing a prayer, and Julie Clement and Sulema with their, I don't know, energy, they both do energy work. They're saying, she's like, I saw this dragon, something like this, and I know Sulema said she saw that later, and I didn't see anything. So that's just what they imagined in their, I don't know, this, you know, some evil spirit tricking them, something.
How many castings do you think that you were involved in?
Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to make a guess because I wouldn't know.
What would you guess?
Maybe 10? Maybe. I'm not sure. And they were just for chat, for, I think most of them were on Charles, and not the kids. And Tammy, I mean, I know they probably did. I don't know what they did with the kids. I don't have any idea on that part. They probably, I'm not sure on Tammy. Maybe?
Let me ask you about Tammy then.
Yeah.
Was Chad there, or was it just Lori?
Well, they did, there was one, I can't remember who it was though. Sometimes these things, I don't remember all of it, because sometimes I was often detached from a lot of it because I was involved in my own personal life. So I necessarily not was, you know.
And I know I'm asking a lot for try to reach back and grab.
Yeah, so we were in a circle, we were holding hands, and Charles had passed away, so it had to have been somebody else because Charles was dead. And Sulema, she started talking about that. She was into, you know, moving the earth and the earthquakes and all that. You probably know that. She thought she had the power to do that. And I remember Chad and Lori said something, and I don't know if anybody else said anything. So who was it?
So Chad was there in the circle.
Oh, yeah.
Lori was there.
Yep. And I think Melanie and Alex, Sulema, me and David. David doesn't remember any of it. You can ask him. He's blocked it, dude. He was so blocked. He can't remember it.
And this was after Charles died.
This was right after he died when we had that little meeting. Remember how I said we got together one time in Charles's house?
So that would be like
July
probably.
Yeah. Well, he died July
11th.
7. I always try to remember 7/11. Okay. So, yeah.
You recall how soon after that was?
Weeks. Within weeks.
Do you think it's still in July?
David had to have been in town. That's the only way I can track it.
But this casting was for what reason?
To continue to help the spirits that are in the bodies to talk them out of leaving their bodies.
Okay. What bodies?
I think it could have been Tammy. It might have been Brandon, maybe. That's the only two I could think of. That would be the only two I can think of, because if they said anything about that, I have no memory of that. So no memory. And definitely, well, because not JJ, definitely, because JJ wasn't deemed a zombie until, you know, September, right?
Okay.
So they would definitely not have done it about JJ. So probably Tammy and Brandon, because remember they said Brandon was definitely at this high
Well,
level, dark.
I don't want you, I mean, I appreciate you saying it was probably
Yeah,
either one of these two or maybe both, but
yeah.
I need you to remember who was who was trying to be casted. If it was both, fine, but you know, if it was just one.
I know,
or the other,
it's,
think about it.
I can't even remember what Chad and Lori said.
Okay.
I remember she always used her priesthood power, and then she's like, go ahead, take it over, Zulema. I remember that.
All right. So, were you?
Because Zulema remembers. Yes?
Some things. Some things.
Okay.
Refresh my memory when you were up here in Idaho.
September?
You dated in September.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a casting done at Lori's house?
Not that I can recall. I've tried to remember, like, do we have any cat? Not that I recall.
Or did you have how about a prayer? Where you guys got together and just had a prayer or anything like that?
Well, normal prayers, like on a flute or something,
Right.
possibly like that. I don't recall.
Okay.
I mean, I could say maybe, but I don't remember.
So as far as the castings, none of them took place in Idaho that you were present at?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
I'm doing my best to remember,
I know.
but it's horrifying to think about it, but I don't know.
Okay. So the ones you may have been involved in were the ones here in Arizona, and that would have been at Lori's house,
Yeah.
Zulima's house.
Mm-hmm.
Where else?
I remember when she was in Charles's house, in the one in Houston, or was it Houston or no, the other city? I always forget what city it was. Remember she lived in Florida
Texas?
and Texas.
Mhm.
Remember that? I
Yeah.
remember she was. I can't remember if I was. It seemed like she was on the phone with Chad. I remember her talking about Charles because he was in the house. She was really. That's right. She was really into. She was really into Charles's. She kept saying, "Oh, he's getting broken down. He's getting broken down. He's getting weaker. He's getting weaker. We're just We're doing things to help, get him weaker, get his, spirit out of his body, kind of a thing." They were like working on him. I remember that a lot.
So let me ask you this. Were there any castings that you weren't present, you were just on the phone with them?
So there was, in the beginning, there was a phone call. That's right. Good. Thank you for reminding me. Serena, Zulema. At one point, Melanie joined in,
Melanie
and Nicole.
Gibb or Melanie Boudreaux?
Melanie Boudreaux. Oh, wait. Sorry, I remembered one. Let me just stick to that one for right now. Sorry.
That's all right.
All over the place. This is not enjoyable for me.
It's all right.
This sucks.
We'll
Anyway.
get through it.
So yes, there was this phone thing because she was doing it through Zoom. It was a Zoom thing. And so they were like everybody had their own little parts. Like I just said, like mine, I just talked about Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
But theirs one was over fire elements or something, wind, fire, earth. I don't know, just they came up with some funky words. And not that they were horrible words, they were just not usual, putting them together in a sentence kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very unusual. So yeah, they did that a few times on the phone. And then Dolores just kind of got tired of doing it with them. She was like, oh, this person talks too much. She'd get irritated with people. Like, I think she was always jealous. Anyway, so yeah, that was on the phone. And I don't know how many times, but I'd say a handful. Maybe they tried it maybe 2 or 3 times. Maybe, I don't know. And then one time, okay, so you know the house she moved in the first time, Alex's house, right after she left Charles the first time.
Mm-hmm.
She went to Alex's house for a while. She had Serena on the phone, and Melanie was new to it, and she really didn't know what was going on. So it was the first time Melanie was exposed to it. And I remember we were holding hands, and I remember she said, my hands got really hot and they got really cold. I was like, okay, not my experience, right? And then Serena kind of related to that. They were talking on the phone. And that was the night she came up with this idea, this map thing of zombies in the world. Arizona, Utah, Idaho, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then she's like, okay, Chad says, and she'd be on the phone, How many, Chad? How many zombies in this state?
She called him by name, Chad.
I knew she was talking to him.
How'd you know he was talking to him?
Well, I just did. I just did. I mean, I just did. I don't know. I knew it.
She called him by name?
I'm sure she did, but
Okay.
I just know she was talking to him. Who else was she going to get this information from?
I don't know.
No, she was into him. She was way into Chad. She was
Okay.
infatuated with him, big time. There was nobody else she could ever talk to about it. Nobody else could have given her that information. Nobody. I guarantee it was nobody else. I just know it was him only. Because who else is she going to call? She doesn't know anybody that talks like Chad. She didn't know anybody. She wasn't friends with these podcasters. She didn't even know Julie Rowe. She never met her.
Okay.
So, anyway, and I could have maybe possibly heard his voice if she had a speaker sometime. I'm sure that happened at times. So I knew it was them talking. And I probably, she was on the phone a lot, in the car a lot. She was talking to him, and I just knew she was talking to him. And so, anyway, he would say, okay, there's, I don't know, grab a number, 100 in this state, something in this state, and then throughout the whole world. And so he got this, like, these people, or these entities are in other people's bodies. So her idea was, it was for her to get rid of the zombies. The idea was for her thought she had the power to cast it out, she'd say in the name of whatever, and with her power. And then he would check, oh, there's none left in the state, So anyway, that's how she did it. So anyway, I remember that conversation was kind of going on that night. And then, I don't know the heck they were talking about that night. I don't know who. I'm sure it was Charles. And I think it was probably for the world too. It probably was. And anyway, everybody was just holding hands. And anyway, they all said their little, whatever they could come up with, they think of that would help encourage this spirit to leave, or encourage them. And it wasn't done it didn't seem like it was done out of any unkindness or anything like that. It was just a matter of, like, if you were to invite somebody to leave. I think they started using different weapons that had light in them to help that encourage that spirit to come out of the body by those words. But it had no power. So I haven't worried about it since I've left Lori. I was like, she didn't have any power. She can't hurt me. I'm not worried about her. So obviously I didn't believe in it to the level of worrying about my life, right? So that's kind of it. I mean, is there something you're kind of looking at that might help you more?
Well, I really want to just dive into these.
Yeah,
these
to kind of understand them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my understanding, and we may have hit a little bit on this in our first interview, but my understanding is that the spirits, in order for the spirit to be taken out of the body, it has to be casted out. However, if that body is or the spirit in that body is a certain darkness, just casting it out doesn't prevent it
from coming back out.
From coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and there's certain ways that that body can be destroyed.
Body or the spirit?
Or spirit.
I don't know if it can be destroyed.
The spirit?
I don't know if they can be destroyed. I don't like the Father
You never heard
destroys
anything?
spirits.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not saying they believe that. I'm just saying you and I personally, I don't think they can be destroyed.
When we talk about this, I'm trying to.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
trying to dive into their world.
Okay, their world. Sorry, because
thinking.
you're
Right.
sharing personal. So okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that they thought they could destroy them either, though. They were just trying to get them to the point where, well, I don't know.
If I
Maybe
had
they
a
wanted
dark spirit in a body.
Yeah.
I mean, a dark spirit.
Yeah.
And that body, or excuse me, that spirit is cast out of that body. What enters that body next? Can it be a light spirit or can it be a dark spirit?
Oh, so that did occur with Charles, they said. So, okay, this was the first thing, is they were trying to cast out normal, like casting out, right? But they said, oh, no, it's still in there. Chad would deem it still in there. We can't get him out. They're breaking eternal law, right? This is what we're saying.
Okay.
That casts his personal spirit out and then put a new one in. So then they finally said, we got him out finally. Through our priesthood powers, we got him out. Now, who's the next one? Garrett? Garrett was the next one that came into Charles. And this was supposed to be a more advanced, darker spirit.
Okay, so if
according to them.
If the body keeps receiving dark spirit,
Yeah.
does that body have to be destroyed?
You
Oh,
know?
not, see, they were learning. It was a never figured out. This was Chad pretending more and more along the way, is my opinion now. It's like, he was just like, okay, that didn't work, but what can I come up with to keep Lori happy, right? And let me just figure this out and come up with, I don't know if he even played all the way through, because Lori was so pushy about being with him, and I think he was so infatuated, which you and I both know he was with her. I think he just got more creative in his darkness. And I think it just went on line by line by line. I don't think, that's my feeling. I could be wrong. Maybe he had the whole, some people say, oh, a writer, knows the end of it. I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you this then. With these castings, we know that, or I think we know, it was with Charles. They tried casting Charles.
Yeah.
They, at one point, tried casting Brandon.
I think so. It feels familiar, I'll just say that. Because they deemed him as really dark after, right about the time probably either right after Charles died, because then they were trying to help Melanie, because now she would go hooks into Melanie. She got totally taken out by Lori. And Brandon is all these things, and he's now, not only is he dark, he's actually, we found out more about him. So first he's this. Oh, wait, we discovered more about him. Now now we know he's actually a high level. He's like up there with Hitler kind of thing, right?
Right.
And yeah.
Did they ever say that?
He was one of the Hitler crowd. He was one of the group that associated with Hitler. Mm-hmm.
Was he?
Yeah, did you know that?
I must have missed that somewhere.
Yeah, well, you're not missing much.
But Tammy.
Oh, so Tammy was, let's see. That's a good one, because that one's different. Because she was sweet, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it was at the very, no, it must have not been Tammy then.
Well,
That's a good thing, thank you, because I got to route it around. Tammy, what would they have said about her? Because she didn't have an evil spirit in her, so then at the very end she did. And who, because it was, she probably only told me like once, so it's not like there was a lot of time spent on Tammy, to my knowledge. What did she say about Tammy? I don't know that she, I remember she said right in September, oh, there's evil spirits starting to work on Tammy now. Tammy's good, but they're not in her yet. They're like working on her. And they're coming around the house, something like that, and then she had this knock at the door one night, and Tammy wakes up to go see us, and of course Chad and Laurie would say, oh, that was Julie Rose's spirit that came and knocked on the door.
Okay,
That sound
you
familiar?
lost me right there.
I didn't know if this was, I did share this with somebody. I really feel like it's come out somewhere along the journey.
It probably is. But you gotta understand, man, there's so much that's coming out here, sometimes we have trouble keeping it straight.
I don't blame you. That's why I keep saying, call me. If you have like a brain cramp, Melanie can help me sort me out, because I can at least I got my memory.
No, yeah, that's why we're here.
I know, but I was just saying, when you're going through stuff and you're going through all this stuff, you need to keep it collective. Ask me, because I'm going to tell the truth. Nobody's going to tell it like me.
All right. So tell me again about the knocking on the door.
So something about one night there was this is what Chad would tell Lori, that Tammy woke up to a knock at the door, and then he would say, maybe to Julie, I don't know, to his wife, I don't know, but he said, she told me that he said it was Julie's spirit knocking at the door, that's what woke her up. So that was one indication, and it seemed like there could have been other things, I can't recall, but she just said, I felt this feeling of like they were kind of like around her house as evil spirits. That's what it felt like when she was telling me. So you know how you feel things, you picture it, but you don't have the words to describe it. That these evil spirits are now trying to get a hold of her. Oh, and then she says, she's starting to question if he's seeing somebody else.
Lori was. Or
no,
Tammy
was. That's what she would tell. So that's how they knew the evil spirits were in her, is because now she was starting to, and I don't remember what she said, something like, are you seeing another woman? Something maybe like that.
Do you know when that was?
Yeah, that was that time we went, September, that weekend I was up there. She would tell me that while I was in her apartment.
Lori told you that.
Yeah, and that was when she was telling that JJ.
I think we did know that.
Yeah, everything I can remember, I tried my best to, as fresh as I could. Yeah, I did share. I feel like I shared it. It feels super familiar with me sharing that. Anyway, so, but she didn't tell me when she got in her spirit. I think after she died. So I didn't know, and I don't know that she ever said who was. She was trying to describe it, but I don't even remember what she said.
Can I interject really quick?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the castings, because we're kind of getting just sidetracked just a little bit.
Okay.
So back to the castings. You participated in about 10 of them, and then some over the phone, roughly.
Something like that. They were mostly on Charles, if I can remember, if not all of them. There might have been a few that weren't, but it felt like they were, if not all, Charles.
And Lori would start it, and you would go around the room.
She'll always.
You'd go around the room, and each person would say something.
I have something to say.
Describe to me, let's say we're in the casting, what would you say?
I would say, so they would always refer to the evil spirit. So if it was Ned, they'd say.
All by name.
And I can't remember if I said Ned's name or not. I don't know. But anyway, I just say, Jesus Christ is your Savior. Come to Him, and remember that you can always repent and come to Him. So it was my testimony of the repentance and the power of the Savior. That was what I'd say. So I'd say, just like I'd refer to Paul the Apostle, that he went through a hard time and he came to the Lord and he was able to be forgiven. And that you can come to the light side. It was all done with love. To me, I felt the love when I said it. I wasn't doing it in a way that I was angry or upset or any negative. Like, I like Charles, so it wasn't like I was against anybody.
So you would say that?
And then somebody else would, and then they would move on to the next person.
Okay.
And so a person would say, oh gosh.
So what was your gift that brought you into that circle? What was your gift? Because each person in the circle had a gift.
Nobody
right?
really had a gift until they stepped. It seems like they had a gift all of a sudden when they stepped into the circle. Does that make sense? Like, there was no gift outside of it except for Sulema. Sulema seemed to be the one that had the gift of moving the earth, because she seemed to the visionary stuff she could see. So she was the only one that I knew of that had that kind of gift.
Do you remember Lori giving anybody assignments? Okay, you be water, you be fire.
Yeah, a little bit as she started to learn it more. But that probably backed off after a while because she stopped. Like I said, she got rid of some people in the group. So then it kind of just branched off to her and Lori would do a lot of it on their own in the temple. And I'd come and see them in the temple later. I was like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, oh, we just were talking about how to, do this and da-da-da-da.
Zulema and Lori?
What?
Who? Lori and who?
Zulema. So they'd be in the temple doing it sometimes. And they would just do it like they'd sit beside each other and just hold hands or something like that. Like, nobody could really tell what they were doing. And they would talk about, I'd see them talking and then they would just close their eyes and then think that they could do something like leave their bodies, And I've heard people do weird stuff like that. Like, it happens to people. I don't know. I've never had those experiences. But anyway, so somebody would do something about water and I can't remember the words. They were so different. Sorry, I'm trying. Crystals or whatever, and I'm trying to remember Nicole and Christina. Like, what would they have said?
That's okay.
I don't really remember.
So you guys go around the circle. Each person says their part, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes back to Lori.
Most likely. Mm-hmm.
And how does Lori close it? Like, how do you guys get done with the casting?
She would invite the spirit to come out of the body, and I think a few times, if I remember now, it's so long since I thought about this. Sulema, they would try to, what's the right word, seal it up or something like that. Seal it.
Like sealing a blessing?
Like a sealing, yeah. Like try to seal it where they could, that light energy that was going into them that would cause that evil spirit go, okay, I'm going to leave now. So they were trying to invite it to leave now. And, she just talked to, I think at the end she would just try to seal that up and try to think she had the power to talk it out of leaving the body.
And that's something you believed in at the time?
I kind of believed in it. I didn't 100%. It's hard to 100% believe in anything that's not true. So at the time, I thought, well, I don't know if this is effective or not, but it seems that's the direction she's going because she doesn't know what to do about this evil spirit in the body. I don't know if it's working or not because she's saying one time it's here and then I said, Chad, all the body left. So when the first entity first left, Ned, it got really weird after that actually. She called Chad, she's like, did we get the body, we had a prayer, did we get the spirit out? Because he would be the one that deemed it and he'd say, yes, it left. And then, well, where is it? And then, what is his body dead? Because they thought maybe his body would drop dead, which never happened. So she thought that Charles was dead. Okay? Yeah, thank you. It takes a while to remember all this stuff because there's so many details. And I'm just visualizing as much as I can. So I remember then she said that something like Brandon was involved. It was so dumb. And Brandon was helping get rid of the bodies, something. But anyway, we find out. Then he said, so he kept changing things, the story all the time. And then he would say, oh no, that's not really what, because, she obviously found out Charles was alive. Oh, that's not what happened. It was Brandon's father's body that died, or something stupid like that. He would always try to put it off, like find an excuse why it didn't work. So when, that first time she said that Charles was going to get in the car accident and die, that January, because I remember it was right around my birthday, and then, because it was right after Christmas, and then I said, well, why didn't he die? And then Charles's excuse, which was always Julie Rose's excuse that I heard, was, oh, because of agency, it didn't happen. These people didn't meet up with the right plan, and it didn't go according to plan, so it just failed it. So Chad, that would always be excuse for why things didn't go. He just would lead her along to one, and so they thought they were always discovering things, and the adversary was getting smarter and smarter, and they were just leading, and it just got stupider and stupider, the story did, and it just got more crazy, and sometimes I'd go, okay, whatever, and I just kind of blow it off.
Well, now let's back up. So Tylee was deemed dark back in July.
She
Did
was
you guys
deemed
ever
dark at some point.
Cast for Tylee.
I do not recall that.
Okay.
But I know at some point she was called dark, and
Who called that? Or
well, probably Chad would tell her, because Chad was the one she would go to. And I remember I said this out loud to you guys, is she used to think she got a lot of revelation, but now that Chad's in her life, she just relies upon him more. So she kind of didn't think she had the power anymore, because he seemed to have more power than her.
do you know at that point in time if there was any tension between Lori and Tylee?
There was always tension.
Was there?
When was there wasn't tension? I mean, it was from day one that I met her. I walk in the room. I super good with teenagers. Love them. Hi. She's like, if we were each other, I was like, hi, and she didn't even want to look at me, and she was probably thinking one of her friends that she just totally dumps me on. Who knows? But she would never contact me. I did one time try to be affectionate and kind to her, and we were sitting at the table. We're going to California with her friend. And we're sitting at the little that wiener place. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, that fast food restaurant. The
Wiener Schnitzel?
Well, not that one. The
Schlotsky's?
Yes, I don't even know how to say it. We were there. She said it was one of her favorite places.
I like food.
Yeah. See, she said she was big on food, and now she loved her fast food. If you didn't know that, she did. And so we were sitting there, and I just, just like try to put like Tylee's hair. Women just do that kind of stuff. And I just pulled her hair up, and she was like, you know what I mean? I was like, and I didn't take it personally. I knew her mom was her mom. Like, she had a rough life. I was like, whatever. And I think it upset Lori. That kind of upset her. I was like, you don't need to be upset. But anyway, so she didn't think she was dark at that time. That was another time. That was earlier on.
And I know this stuff, bringing it up, can be kind of embarrassing to think that I actually bought into some of that stuff.
Absolutely, it is.
But it's super important that if you did buy into it, you let us know. Because we've recovered text messages and conversations between you and Lori,
sure,
or you and Zulema and things like that. So there's some things where it shows that you actually believe that Charles was a zombie.
Well, like I said, to a certain level, I believe it, just like Zulema. But remember me asking her the last time I saw them, I said to him directly, it's like, and this was just to show you where my beliefs were, and Zulema's. I said, I'm not 100%. Now, here we're not influenced by Chad and Lori because they're not in the room. This is us three now, alone, without their influence. And Alex.
And Alex.
So here we're in Zulema's home, and I remember he's sitting right by the door, and she's in the kitchen, and I'm right here. And I go, 100% of the zombie thing, I'm still not 100%, okay? So that's what I said. So he goes, 100%, and then she goes, I'm still getting my answers on that. She goes, I'm still not 100%. So that's what our conversation. Now, to me, if she said that, that means she didn't know that they died, or they were, whatever, they're missing or whatever. I don't think she was privy to that because of her comment there. She didn't seem like she knew what was going on to me.
But this was after they had moved to Rexburg.
This was like a few weeks before he died, so this was what?
Charles.
No, Alex. This is right before
Oh, yeah,
Alex died.
yeah, so this is
The
after
last
they
time I
moved to
seen him.
Rexburg, they came back.
Yeah, this is after they went to Rexburg, and they already were married. They just got married, Sulema and Alex. So when I say, yeah, I went along with in text because I was trying to believe in it, and I was trying to, but there was always that little part of me that was like, you're going to have that. You're going to have that doubt until you ever had doubts about something, but you go along with it for a while because you kind of, and then you're like, So I'm not denying that because I told you I was gullible. So it's just that I didn't 100% believe in it. I never 100% believed in anything, but she would so convincing when she come around you, she would just like make you try to believe it more. You know what I mean? It's like when you have something, you ever try to believe in something and you keep talking about it to keep convincing yourself of it? Multi-levels are great at that. You're just trying to talk yourself into it. And so, but the 100% was never there, even though it made it sound like it. Even Lori doubted it. Because she made a few comments, and I remember her seemed like she could have been in the last house she lived in when Charles died in. If he's a Satan, he's a good one. Or maybe she was in Texas too. It was one of those. So I'm just saying, how do you 100% believe in something that's not true? It's very difficult to.
This time that you were with Alex, Sulema, and you, where was that at?
That was at Sulema's house.
And did you have a conversation at that time with Laurie and Chad?
They were in the room. When was the last time I talked to them? Well, remember I was already coming down.
I thought you said that you talked, or you just got to talk to them or something.
No, I said we weren't talking to them, so we weren't in their conversation. Like we were just talking, the three of us.
Oh, okay.
So I want to make that clear that they weren't under our influence. They weren't trying to influence us. Okay. I was trying to say we three got to talk without them in the room, which really...
Because they left?
No, but they were wherever they were.
Okay.
I don't know where they were.
And it wasn't that you hadn't been on earlier with any phone conversation or anything?
The only phone call that I've shared with everybody, which is the truth, is when I was coming down from Utah. Remember, it was the Thanksgiving time. And remember I said I did the three-way call, and I called them to say, hey, let's say a prayer. I'm worried about them. Sulema got on the phone call. She didn't really seem like she understood what was going on. Because I asked Laura, I'm like, does she know what's going on? And she's like, oh, yeah, she lied. Anyway, so when I was listening to Sulema, I was like, I don't think she understands what's going on. I got that feeling. She's like, what is this about?
I just wanted to make sure that...
So that was the last conversation I had with her,
Okay.
was that conversation on the phone when I prayed, when I had a prayer I was worried about, they said the kids were
With
being
Lori.
kidnapped. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was in the car with David, so he heard it because we had it on the speaker thing.
Right.
And so anyway, so that was that conversation. And then it got busy for me. I was doing Thanksgiving. And then I went over to their house. And anyway, it was the last time I saw him. And he said, I 100% believe in it, Melanie.
Alex.
And so this is the thing, is I think because he 100% believed in it, he had to, because at this point he had probably killed the kids, is my guess. He probably did it. I don't know. I'm guessing. Maybe you guys are guessing too. But he 100% believed it. And she didn't 100% believe it. And then when I called her, when I told her, when I realized, oh, holy cow, I called her. I tried to talk to her. She was not there yet.
What do you mean by that? She just...
I said to her, I said, Sulema, and I don't remember the full conversation because I was in fire in my mind, like, holy cow, right? I am freaking out. But what I do remember is I said, there's something seriously wrong here. I said, the gut of my stomach says something's seriously wrong here. And she goes, that's just dark. I said, no, there's a difference between gut and dark. This is gut. And I said, do you have a testimony of Chad and Lori? Do you have a testimony of that? What is your witness? And she goes, well, I have one of Chad. When he gave me a blessing, shortly after meeting him, I had more visions after that. And she goes, I'll get my witness about Lori. And I said, well, I don't know what I described, but I just described it, and I didn't believe who they were. And I said, I'm going to be going to the police. And I remember it seemed like I talked to her maybe twice, and probably the last. So I said, I'm going to the police. And I said, is Alex on? Can Alex hear me? And she goes, it's on speaker. I said, take it off speaker. Now here's the murderers down the street. Remember, they lived close to me. Remember, Sulema lived around the corner from me. And I'm thinking, got myself in a situation, he could come after me, right? But I had to do what I had to do. She was my friend, I wanted to warn her. And I just said, hey, so anyway, the police I know circled her house, circled my house, making sure I was safe and making sure he probably didn't get in trouble, whatever. And so she texted me, didn't call me, texted me next day, I got my witness. Which means to me, Lori's in. Lori's good. That's what it meant to me.
Did she tell you how she got her witness?
No, that's one-liner. And I said, I'm not talking to her anymore. Cut her off. I just knew that I couldn't talk to her anymore.
You remember what day that was? Do you still have that?
It's on my phone. Yep. Thank goodness for some of the texts that got saved, right? And then she told me she never wanted to have anything to do with me again.
At that same time?
No. It would be after he died. After Alex died. So she was still under the influence of Lori at that time in her life, so. Okay.
Just gonna step out here.
Oh, December 6th. I received my witness today.
On December 6th?
Yep.
What is this?
So I got $2,000 picked up from Melanie's piano, and she was out of town, so she said, can you collect the money for me? So I had this $2,000 cash, and she said, Mel asked us to get it for her, or can we pick it up? What's easier for you? I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not home, and I'm not sure when I will be. I just text her as well. Maybe I can get it to her through PayPal. Just PayPal it to me. I can't right now because I don't have enough money in my account. If you'll anyway, she goes, let me know, thanks. Are you up for a convo? The bishop told me what happened. I was so surprised, so sad. This was after he died, so this was, I guess it was 2 days later, right? I'm so sorry, words cannot express how I feel. I am extremely only surprised at your hypocrisy because of what you did. I didn't have to not only deal with my precious husband dying in my arms, but then when police were ransacking my house and traumatizing my entire family. You are not my friend. You are not to speak to me or anyone in my family ever again. I want you to pay the $2,000 you owe as soon as possible. Put it onto the map and I'll forget that I exist. So you can understand why I haven't talked to her.
So,
Then I just told her.
is she just mad because you made the phone call to us? Is that why she's mad? And she thinks that God's pointed towards Alex's direction?
My guess. She knew I was going to the police.
That day was December 16th.
Yeah. So then I put the money under the mat and that was it. I didn't want to do PayPal because I hate using technology for that. So I made sure she wasn't around.
And you haven't talked to her since?
Have not talked to her, nor have I seen her. Wait, have I seen her? Yeah, I think I saw her a few times at the passing of the temple and she wouldn't talk to me. So, and then the temple got closed shortly after, so anyway, I haven't seen her since. Yeah, so sad. One of my friends, Kelly, she saw her at the temple after it happened, and she was like, oh, Kelly, my husband died. Can you see him? He's here with me. And she's like, I don't see anything. I don't see spirits. So she's going on about how he was her husband. I mean, she was deceived so much. So sad. It was very sad.
Mm-hmm.
She did not know how evil he was. I mean, all that I've learned about him didn't sound like he had a good past, you know?
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I believe her energy work is the one that got her deceived. Because she could communicate through the veil. I had no gift, so, you know what I mean? It got her sucked into it. As far as her not letting that go and believing in it and stuff.
I'm curious, your opinion, do you really think she can see through the veil?
I don't know if people make stuff up or not, honestly, Ron, I don't know. I don't know if people imagine things. I really don't know. I do believe people can see things. I believe it's possible. But my feeling about them is I think they can conjure up ideas and thoughts. Like I would sit with Lori in the temple and we just hold hands because we just loved each other. And she said, oh, Heavenly Father and Mother came to me right here, Melanie. And they were talking to me. And I was like, I didn't think she was lying in the temple. I never thought she was making this stuff up. I was like, but on the eternal thing, I think that God wanted me to be a witness for all this. So, and that's a whole different discussion. But somebody needed to be a witness to all this craziness that would tell the truth. So there was a part of me that's very innocent because I don't think you're lying to me. I wouldn't make a very good police officer because I would think everybody was telling the truth that came in to see you. And then I've learned more about my life, and I'm looking back at my former spouse, I'm going, oh, things I couldn't see before. And it's called deception or manipulation. I wasn't even aware of that. Like, people do that. I didn't catch it because I don't know how to do it. I don't understand it. But when you experience it, it's painful.
I'm going to get a little personal with you here and ask some personal questions, but I'm curious with your relationship with your previous husband. Was that relationship with your previous husband kind of in turmoil before Chad and Lori showed up on scene?
Oh, absolutely. We had challenges for the whole marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a hard marriage.
Did Chad?
Did they encourage me?
Yeah.
Actually, they discouraged me.
Did they really?
Well, they were saying, oh, I see you, this is what he would say at first, I see you and your family going to a mountain in camps, and I see your husband and your family with you. But he gets upset and he leaves the camp, and then he shortly dies after that. So then, that was one thing he said. And then at one point they said, he's not dark, but he has just dark spirits around him. Because I remember out of the blue, he's like, oh, I checked your husband, and he has attachments to him, so I just took the attachments off him. I didn't ask him to do that, nor did I even think that he had them, do you know what I mean? So that was right in the beginning. And so then I said, and then anyway, I had a hard day one day with Brendan, and I told him months, like right about the time I met Laurie, I remember standing with my husband, and I said to him, if you don't stop talking to me this way, I can't do it anymore. You're going to have to make some changes. I mentally, I can't talk. I can't handle the way you talk to me anymore. I can't do it. And I remember he has this scratching thing. He just started scratching his arm with his eczema. And I was, and then we had a discussion once, and I said, you see how you're talking to me? I said, that's the meaning. Do you understand that? He goes, that is? And I go, yeah, it is. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, he always had his reasons. And then, anyway, so I went out for a walk one day, and I just said, do I have to stay in this marriage, Heavenly Father? I can't do this anymore. It hurts my mind at this point. And I felt this peace come over me, and I was like, huh, are you kidding me? So anyway, I tell Brendan, I fasted the whole day. I was like, I feel peace and I feel happy. I am so done. I was in so much pain. But that's the reason why I came to know the Lord, is because of how hard that relationship was. And I spent a lot of time repenting on just any kind of unkindness that I showed. I mean, I spent a lifetime doing that. So anyway, I said to her, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm divorcing Brendan or something like that. And she's like, I can't remember what she said, but I remember one time going to the temple, I said, this is just not going well. And she goes, no, I think you should go back to him. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of sensing that too. Everything's just hard, you know, like he's getting upset and the kids are da-da-da-da. So she was actually, believe it or not, she encouraged me to go back with him. And then I got to a point where I was like, I got to do what I need to do. And actually, this is interesting. I told Brendan the whole story after I talked to all of you guys before it hit the media. I wanted him to know face to face. I said, I want to tell you what happened, because he's the father of my children. He needs to know these things. And I told him about Chad and Laurie and the whole thing, and he was just like, oh my gosh, you know, he was shocked. He goes, well, probably a good thing you divorced me, because they probably would have tried to come after me like they came after Brandon. And I said, who knows? And I thought, wow, that was the statement of the year.
I'm going to ask a question, and I do so with a little bit of reserve because I don't want to sound too... It's going to be a weird question.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
You know, you can...
Do you ever feel like that with Chad,
was ever a point in time that Chad was wanting to bring you into any type of relationship?
I never felt that from him. He did contact me, but I never felt that, the thing that him and Lori did. I never felt that kind of a romantic, no. But one time he contacted me, and I'm sure I shared this briefly, 6 months before I met Lori. He texted me on Messenger and says, "Hey, Melanie, I just finished my last book, and I'm going to be in Arizona. Do you think you can help me with a get-together?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." And then I contacted Jason Mao, and I said, "Hey, well, Chad's coming to town. Why don't you guys both do a duo together?" And so they both were like, he's like, "Sure, that's fine." And so then I got the word out, like, hey, they're both coming to town. So anyway, when I picked him up I'm so glad I did this. I picked him up from the airport. I had somebody in the car with me. Glad, because who knows? I don't think anything, he would have said anything about these multiple lives. He hadn't told me about that, so I didn't know anything about it. But I had, her name is Janelle Littlebear. She was with me, and her daughter was with me. So anyway, we went to the place that he was going to speak, and then we had a lot of craziness going on with the air conditioning. But anyway, and then I said to him after, it was all over, I said, "Do you mind giving me a priesthood blessing? I could really use one right now, And I looked up to him at the time. I thought he was this great visionary. And which I don't even think he's a visionary by the record now. Now, maybe I said it earlier on, but now that the more I learn and ponder, I'm like, I think he made it all up. Anyway, so he gave me it was just a nice little blessing. Anyway, but he never, I didn't feel like he was trying to come on to me, or maybe he used me just to get his book sold there. But when he met Lori, it was a totally different energy than when I met him. So that's just letting you know. Of course, I never had any type of interest in him at all. Because you can tell why. So he was not somebody I'd be attracted to. You know what I'm saying? But plus I was married too.
Okay.
Sorry, it's loud.
Let's talk a little bit about the night that you were at the apartment in Rexburg. The night that we believe that JJ came up missing.
Yeah.
If I recall right, you guys were doing a cast, and Alex had already taken a podcast.
Yeah. I knew what you meant.
Okay, good. And Alex had taken JJ, gone to his place, and a little later we know that then he brought JJ back.
Yeah.
And because I don't have any paperwork right in front of me, he went upstairs with JJ. Is that correct? Is that what I remember?
Do you remember, you mean like when we were doing the podcast and then he came in the door with him sleeping?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of went that way.
So he goes upstairs, and do you know where he went when he went upstairs? Because he went into Lori's room because he wasn't in David's or my room. Those rooms are empty, so he had to have been in there. And then you didn't see him again that night.
Who? JJ?
Alex.
And he left. No.
And Jay left. JJ still up there.
Yeah. And I never saw JJ either.
Right, but Alex left. You watched him leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we heard the door open and close, and we probably said good night or something. I mean, maybe we're podcasting. Who knows?
Do you recall seeing him walk out with JJ?
Not walk out. No,
Okay.
just walk in.
Okay.
Just walk in.
That's right.
And when he left the first time, we didn't see him take him. We just know he had him because she said that he had taken him.
Right.
I don't recall that. I just remember he wasn't there.
But the time he left, so he brings JJ in, and then he leaves again. He did not take JJ out of the room or out of the apartment. Okay. So you get done with your podcast. Everybody goes their separate way, and everybody goes to their bedrooms.
Yeah.
And David, I recall David having his dream. He woke up.
Yeah, funky.
Did he come and get you and tell you?
No, I was actually laying beside him when it happened.
In which room?
In JJ's official room.
Okay. So he woke up and you were at the side of him?
Yeah.
And tell me about what happened from there.
His heart was beating. He was distressed. He said, "I just had this really bad dream." And then he kind of sat up and he was just, and he just was, I said, "Well, tell me about it. And he's like, "It was just so dark." He's like, "I saw an earthquake and I saw people hurting and I wanted to help them and I couldn't," and something like that. That's what it feels like, remember. It was like his heart was hurting. Like his whole body was under distress. When he has dreams, they're like lifetime dreams. Some people dream vividly. I do not dream like that. He has incredible dreams where he feels everything in his dream. So it affects him at a totally different level.
Okay.
So that's what happened. So then I think, oh my gosh, maybe some evil spirit, because, you know, they were always talking about it. So I text Laurie and I text Chad. I'm like, I don't remember what I said. Probably, are you awake, or something's wrong, Chad. David, I don't remember what I said. I just remember trying to get to them. So I said, I'm going to go get Laurie, see if she can help out. The door was locked. And so I was like, I don't know. She's not, I don't know if I should try to wake her up, or I just decided just to come back and see David after that.
So you tried the door handle. It was locked.
It was locked.
Did you knock on it?
Maybe. I probably did, but there was no answer. I don't remember if I probably did, but and I think I tried calling her too and texting her, and I think Chad, I tried calling him. I thought maybe he could help out. Neither one of them responded to me, as you probably could tell in the text. You probably saw that. Nobody responded to me, so I just went back to bed. And then we woke up next morning, and she was happy chappy.
How was David?
He was better. He felt better. He was like, that was a bad dream. And then we would tell them, like, hey, he had a bad dream last night. And she's like, oh, that was Julie Rowe. He attacked her. Once again, throw Julie into it. From a distance.
Chad said Julie Rowe attacked David?
Well, Lori probably said it, but, you know, she always went through him. So when I say it's kind of, they're both. Who knows? They both. And then I don't even know what I believe anymore, what she says that he says, because she's such a liar now. At this point, I'm like, I don't know anymore who said what, but between the two of them, they came up with it. Oh, they always throw her into the bus, you know. And it's because because right before earlier that day, we went to that lot where, you know, that land was going to be for sale. And so we were talking to a friend of Julie Rose. His name was Keith Levitt. And Keith Levitt was there with his wife, Suzanne, and then the realtor was there. And Alex was there. But Lori wasn't there. David thought she was there. I said, no, she went home after that. He goes, I forgot that. Anyway, and so anyway, because we saw her, we thought, oh, she's going to tell Julie Rowe. Keith is going to tell Julie Rowe that we were there because he saw us, because they're really tight. Keith and Julie are super tight. So that's why they threw that, you know, Julie Rowe attacked him that night because, you know, da-da-da-da-da.
Do you remember by chance what Lori was wearing in the morning when you guys got up?
She was typical wearing spandex pants and spandex shirt. I don't recall. But that's usually what she had on.
Was it the same clothes that she had on the night before?
Oh gosh, I do not remember.
I know that's kind of a tough one.
I don't remember details to stuff like that. It's not one of those things I pull, unless it stands out for a reason. I wish I could tell you. Okay. That'd be good to know, but I don't know. She usually had new clothes on every day, if I can remember. It seemed like she got fresh clothes on every day. She was kind of into her clothes, so.
All right.
That night on the 22nd,
yeah.
Try to remember as best you can, okay? So, it's a Sunday,
Yeah.
right? Do you guys go to dinner, or do you guys make dinner on Sunday night?
Well, we would make it because we don't go to eat on dinner now, so we would have made it at home.
So everybody's at home.
Mm-hmm.
Does Lori leave anywhere with JJ?
I don't have any memory of her leaving.
So you sent a text, correction, Lori sent a text to you around 8:30 that evening saying that something to the effect of, hey, I'll be there shortly, JJ woke up, she's getting him back to bed.
Mm.
Do you know where she was at or where you were at when she sent that text?
Gosh. Man, that doesn't even sound familiar. Maybe at Alex's house. I mean, that's the only place that she could be.
Do you have that conversation with her on your phone right now?
No, I think I deleted everything. I was freaked out when it happened. Sorry. I wish I would have kept it on.
That's right.
So, and I can get that.
So say it again. So who's speaking? Say it again.
So Lori.
She texts me and says
something to the effect of, I'll be there shortly.
I'll be there shortly.
JJ woke up and I'm trying to get him back to sleep.
And that was at night.
It was about 8:30 at night.
Well, okay, because we didn't do the podcast yet.
Okay.
We started the podcast like late, because I remember thinking, man, I can't stay up this late. I'm an early bird. Like, come on. We started late, and she's an early bird too. So it must have been, my guess is that it must have been at Alex's house getting him to sleep over there. I'm guessing. So I'm just going to make some guesses. That's that. Because she would never have gone to Chad's house because Tammy was there, right? So where else in the world would she go? I have no idea.
And that's why I'm asking if you remember her, if you remember being alone in her apartment with her not there. Because if she's at Alex's, you're alone in her apartment.
I could have been upstairs or something. Maybe I was talking to David, who knows?
So, and that's why I'm asking if
Yeah.
you remember her leaving and JJ not being there around that time.
Probably, because that's when he was no longer there when we did the podcast. And so somehow, I think I was upstairs. That's what I feel. I just don't remember that detail because I had any reason not to remember that, you know. I didn't know anything was going on, so I didn't have a way of associating it with anything. I just knew I was going to do a podcast, and that was it. And I didn't prepare for it because I never prepared for the podcast. I just, you know. So.
And that night when David was having his dream and you send the text to Chad, and understand, I'm not casting any judgment here.
Yeah, that's okay.
But were you and David sleeping in the same room, or
That
did you hear?
that night we were. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so and which room? If you're walking down the hall, which room were you in? The right or the left?
Well, it depends on which way you're walking down the hall. So if you're walking away from Lori's door,
Away from Laura's door, towards the room.
towards the room. So David's. Well, he was assigned that room, and then the first night, you know, David wasn't there for a few nights, so I was in Tylee's room. So that was the night. That was the room that I stayed in, and then he stayed. So yeah, left room, and it had the mattress on the floor.
Okay, so that night you guys were in the left bedroom.
Yes. Yeah.
And the nights prior to that, you were in the right bedroom.
Yeah, I was a couple. I don't know how many nights. I know at least I was like 1 or 2 nights in Tylee's room. I know that. I just. I gotta remember when he came there. Was it Friday or Saturday night he got there? Well, anyway.
It'd been the first night that he got there.
Which night was that? Do you remember?
I don't, but
Friday,
you guys
Saturday.
shared the same room the first night he showed up at the apartment.
Probably.
Because he was...
I was there like a day or 2 before he was.
Right.
Because didn't I get on a Wednesday? I think a Wednesday and Thursday. So I would have been in the room Wednesday and Thursday in Tylee's room.
Okay.
And then I think he was there 2 nights. I think. So I think I was there for a total of 4 days, and then we left on the Monday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, that was 5 days. Anyway, sorry, they blur. So anyway, I don't remember other than like something, I don't know what I said on the text. Probably something like something's wrong with David. He had a dream, something. I don't know what I said, but something to the fact that something's wrong with him. I just thought, man, maybe somebody, evil spirit. That's all I could think of. That's all I could think of. Because I was like, why is he traumatized in this dream? It's pretty intense. Anyway, it was bad.
And so after you went and knocked on Lori's door,
I don't know if I know I did this.
tried the handle.
My guess is I probably knocked, but I just decided to come back. I was like, well, she's probably sleeping, so I'll just leave her alone.
And then you guys.
I hate waking people up. It's not my favorite.
So what was your intent in going in there?
To see if she could come and help with a blessing. Like if she had some, it's like, hey, David's strong, can you, do a blessing? Help with that, because that's what she was into. So that was my intent. Because I thought maybe she would know what was going on, because she seemed to have all these, experiences with the other side of the veil and Jesus all the time. Like I thought, well, man, maybe they can help out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, we're asking these questions because, it may be something that the defense wants to hit on.
Sure.
I mean, you never know what
Right.
they're going to want to talk to.
Well, and I could see that angle. Just like, well, why were you contacting them in the middle of the night? Well, this weird experience. I don't know what else to say.
And so when we talk about this stuff, it's for that purpose, right?
Yeah.
So that morning, when David talked to Lori, did he express any concerns to you about JJ's whereabouts?
Did he express any concerns to
David.
me? I don't recall him expressing concerns.
On the drive home, did you guys talk or text Lori or chat?
No, I mean, what would we have said about JJ? Just, I know that he questioned her, like, where is JJ? Let me see if he has a zombie in him. And he didn't believe it. I mean, I don't remember.
Was he saying that kind of mock? Or
Um,
was he really?
no, I think he was genuine.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not a mocker. He's pretty genuine about these kind of things. I just don't remember that full conversation.
And that's why I asked, because if he was concerned, right?
Oh,
JJ has
right,
a
like he
zombie
was,
in him.
yeah.
It would be, I would think that maybe you guys would maybe discuss that, if you could remember a discussion on the way home, because it was kind of a
Yeah.
long drive, right? And then during that drive, there was 3 or 4 phone calls that you made to Lori
Okay.
during that drive, and do you remember what that conversation was?
It's jogging my memory. Holy cow.
I know it's a lot to remember.
Well, you could have asked this like a long time ago. That would help.
I
Just,
Well, and
and I don't even know if I would have remembered because it wasn't significant enough for me to remember. There's certain things I remember and some things I'm like, don't remember that. It's possible we could have talked about it. I mean, it's highly possible. Do I remember? I don't remember the words.
How do you remember how she was? Her tone, her demeanor on the phone with you? Was she?
I don't even remember the conversation. That's the hard part. I don't even remember talking to her.
would you guys, is it normal for you to call her 3 or 4 times in a day?
That's not unusual. That's not unusual. There were periods of time where she talked to me more, and then she'd move, and she'd be maybe focused on Melanie. So if she was focused on somebody else, she wouldn't. But I was with David, so, didn't have as much when I was with David. So it went through, gaps here and there where I did and didn't. In the beginning, yeah. And then when she moved and stuff, it started getting a lot less. I don't remember the conversation. I'm sorry. I'm sure she probably talked about those things. That's all that seemed to be on her mind all the time.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, if they bring them up, they're gonna. Whenever they ask me in court, happy to talk about it, but I don't remember them.
Prior to those podcasts, had Chet been over there?
Yeah.
You know what time he left? We probably talked about it, but I'm just...
So I think we figured out, if all my remembering, it seemed like he was there on a Sunday, right? And then he was there even before. Yes, he was there when I got there that day or the next day, because I remember they were doing their little music thing they had going on, so he was there then. And then we walked around the track. Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember. And he was there. I'm thinking it was Sunday. I mean, I know. Okay, yes, it was because David and him saw each other, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, so he definitely was there on a Sunday, or we interacted with him on a Sunday. Was he at the house on Sunday? Anyway, he was at one point. I remember he was in the kitchen at one point, and I remember David was there. So I just remember they were both in the house at the same time. Do I remember exactly when it was? No. But he always seemed to like to go home because of his wife, so he didn't want to upset her. I had that feeling, something like that. So he probably didn't stay too late. And he was not there when we did the podcast. He was gone already. I bet you got a lot more information because of the text, so you guys know a little bit more about their whereabouts. They were always texting each other. But who knows? You know more than me.
So, 23rd.
I know you're trying to help
So the
find
night of the
a way
22nd.
to pin them on a...
Yeah.
I know. I
So-
wish I could just remember more.
So the 22nd would have been a Sunday.
22nd Sunday, yeah.
Okay, and that's the night of the podcast. And that's the night that David got there?
No, he got there, I think the day
Or
before.
was it on a Saturday? Okay,
It
so,
was either Friday night or Saturday night.
but do you recall Chad being at the house? on the 22nd. That Sunday. I know it's tough.
I'm gonna say there's a high chance he was. Right this moment, I have to put pieces together to figure it out. The days blend to me. When you're there 5 days and you're trying to figure out which day, that's hard for me.
The morning of the 23rd, when Lori's up and about in the kitchen, when you guys get ready to go, does she say anything about Chad?
I don't know. I didn't see him there. I don't remember seeing him there. I don't remember.
That she's talked to him that morning or anything? Okay.
I don't know. David remembers this part the best because he had a conversation with her. And he remembered it because we were leaving, and he talked about getting. Now I remember that whole conversation to whatever I was listening. I know he was over here, and I felt like I was in the living room for some reason. But I couldn't remember. I was like, oh, was it that day or that? I was kind of trying to think, was that Saturday or was it Sunday or what day did she say that? And so he did remember that it was that day, which I'm grateful that he remembered it was that day.
Sure.
But yeah, I remember her telling me about how, and I remember she was doing my hair. I think it was that morning. Yeah, it was Sunday. So it really helps if I can start remembering things associated with it.
With Sunday?
Yeah, she did my hair. She cut my hair in the bathroom downstairs. And she even colored it. She couldn't do upstairs, but it was enough room, so went downstairs. So we were in her bedroom.
She
We were in
cut your hair
bedroom.
downstairs
Yeah, I think.
or upstairs?
No, downstairs. And then it seemed like we started off in her bedroom doing my hair. And then she's like, let's just go downstairs. It's easier down there. I don't know why. I can't remember the reason. She just thought it was easy. Now, she had all her stuff up there. So
Upstairs?
Yeah, I mean, that was all her... Well, because there was hardly anything downstairs in that bathroom. There wasn't a lot down there. It was pretty empty. I remember. There was probably a few things in there, but not much. So it was small. So anyway, I was sitting there, and I remember looking in the mirror, and I remember David was back there in the kitchen. I don't know. I mean, he was somewhere in the house, obviously. And then I remember her doing my hair here. And... or cutting it, and David didn't like my hair short, so anyway, it's a long story, but anyway, she's trying to trim it up. I remember it was like off a little bit, and there was pizza boxes or something, and JJ was trying to cut them something. I'm trying to remember what she would have made for breakfast, and she wasn't a cooker. She wasn't much of a cooker, but we had something.
Melanie, let me ask you this. With multiple probations,
Yeah.
were you 100% believer in that?
Probably sounded like I was, but there was always that question mark. Everything's a question mark for sure, but did I sound like I believed in it? Yeah, I tried to. I tried believing it at times. She'd tell me stuff like, no. And then sometimes I was like, I don't like this because I'm not.
Well,
I haven't lived very many lives.
What was your spiritual name that she would use for you?
Phoebe.
Phoebe.
I don't remember if she had another name for me. Man, it's the memories.
And then how were you related to her? How were you related to Lori?
So she was Joseph Smith, but I forgot his name now, but one of his descendants, right? One of his great-great-great-great-grandfathers, so he was his great Joseph Smith. Anyway, her name was Mary Smith, and he was, whoever the other Smith man was, I forgot his name now. I used to know, and I was the oldest of all her kids, and I was Phoebe, and then the last one was Christina. She would have Christina, I think at the last, or the second to last, something like that. She had like 10.
With the same father?
Uh-huh. Yeah, so she only had one husband in that one, according to her. Now, I don't believe that now, just for the record. I
Right.
do not believe any of this stuff.
So Lori was your mom?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's times you call her mom in some
Yeah,
text
yeah,
messages.
yeah.
Um,
Did I 100% believe in it? Say like, I buried in the 90s at times, but I tried it like, is this really, I mean, it would obviously be like, is this really true? This is so far out here, I definitely questioned all of it, I mean.
Well,
But it sounded like I did, because I referred to it as I did.
And that's the thing we want to address is,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be something the defense hits on, right?
Sure.
I mean, based on all this stuff,
Yeah.
reading the text messages and the conversations,
Yeah.
it looks like you were probably closest to Lori more than anybody in that group, even probably more than Zulema.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you know, be prepared. That's probably something that they're going to hit on. And there are some text messages where you call her mom, and you know, you talk about different things. Ned being, Charles being shorter because he's possessed. Different things like
absolutely.
that it does make it look like.
I believed it.
And I can believe that you believed it, right? I mean, they're manipulative, and there's things that they said and people bought into. We just want to get ahead of all that stuff
You want to
before it
prepare
comes
me.
out in court, right?
And that's my testimony is always going to be like it's going to sound like it. You know, if he said it's going to sound like it, according to text, I believed it. And yes, I did believe it to a certain level. But can you ever believe in something 100% that's not true? Well, I don't think any of us can. But that's my thing is, you believe it enough to sound like you believe in it.
Well, I know.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense because a lot of
Yeah.
people who believe in whatever faith they believe
Right.
in will sometimes question that faith. I mean,
Right,
I
right.
get that.
Yeah. Like if I say, do I believe in my church? Is it 100%? Yeah. Do I believe in 100%? Do I believe in Lord? Not 100%.
But have there
Never
been
said
times? Have there been times with your church that you're like, sure, make it hard sometimes.
Oh no, I always know it's his. I always
See,
know
I think
it's his.
I think there's a lot of people out there that are like that. They'll just go,
No, to always believe in everything. Sometimes I might be like, oh, I'm not sure about how I feel about the vaccines and profit doing it. Yeah, I have a little bit of that feeling. So, but I know that is my 100%.
But
I was never 100% with them. Even though I maybe acted like it, maybe I sounded like it.
Well, understand, they're going to look at it like this, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate, right?
Go ahead.
If
real
you
quick,
didn't-
are you
go
done?
ahead.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Interviewing?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's be done here. We need to talk to you about some other things.
Okay.
But I want, if we're gonna be done.
Oh, you mean this room?
Yeah. Real quick, Phoebe, it was Phoebe, and what else? Did you say Christina?
That wasn't me, but Christina was one of her daughters. Did I make that clear? I'm sorry.
Christina.
I was Phoebe, and Christina, the other Nicole and Christina.
Oh, the other
friends,
gal, yeah,
She
yeah.
was one of her daughters.
Do you remember what her name was?
If you asked me, I might remember, but if I can come off the top of my head, no.